Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. Well, that one was a doozy. It is. A good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here. You there, here at 7:18 here on this Monday night on the William Haynes Show. I'm throwing off my game. There's still light outside here in the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. Rays post-game show. They win Game 2 of the American League Championship Series over the Houston Astros by a score of 4-2. They now have a quite commanding, I'd say, 2-0 series lead in the best of 7. It was Charlie Morton getting the win. 2 innings from Fairbanks, and then after that, a whole heck of a lot of crazy stuff going on. Lance McCullers Jr. surprisingly gave the Stros 7 innings of fairly strong work. Gives up 4 runs, only one of them earned. One of the main, I think, stories of the game, it changes a little bit now after that 9th inning, but the 2 errors in the field by Jose Altuve, throwing errors. I think he had a few errors in the regular season, just because, with everything that happened with him in 2017, winning the American League MVP and hitting, 320 or something like that. And they go on to win the World Series, and we find out a couple years later that they were cheating the whole time, and this year in the regular season, he hits 213, I think, and struggles in the field. He goes 1 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts, and he did walk in that 9th inning. And Alex Bregman, that's another big thing. Alex Bregman ends up going 0 for 5, and each time he came to the plate, he hit the baseball really hard. Just kind of one of those things where the Rays catch a break, and with the shift and all that, it just seems like in this year's postseason, the ball is bouncing our way. And that gives you a lot of hope, because that's how the playoffs in baseball works. If the ball is bouncing your way, it can really nudge you along pretty far. And if it's not going your way, well, it's definitely hurting you. And I think the ball is definitely bouncing against Houston right now, maybe even more so than it's bouncing in favor of Tampa Bay. I mean, the fact that the Houston offense and what they did in the first 2 playoff series, they handled the Twins pretty easily, and then doing what they did to the Oakland Athletics, and they've only scored 3 runs in the first 2 games. Now, granted, the Rays have only scored 6, and once again, the Rays get out-hit by the Astros. The line for the Astros was 2 runs on 10 hits, 2 errors, both on Jose Altuve, and for the Rays, it was 4 runs on just 4 hits. The long ball, once again, has been proving large for the Tampa Bay Rays. No errors in the field, and I think the defense, pitching and defense, man, that's what this team is. And we talked about it over the course of the regular season, and when they weren't winning, it seemed like they were handing teams extra outs and all that bad stuff. But today, Houston, obviously, they've got all the talent in the lineup. They've got all the money in the payroll, not as much with the pitching at this particular moment without Verlander, and obviously we know without Cole and potentially without Greinke as well, I believe. So that big three is no longer there. They do still have some pretty decent starters, but you get the idea. When I'm not going to go out and say that the Rays are overmatched in this series, because I certainly don't believe that. But when the team in the other dugout has all that talent, all you got to do is just let them beat themselves, and that's exactly what they've done the first two games. Today, I think, was a lot more glaring than it was in Game 1. Altuve makes those two throwing errors in the field, and they take advantage. It came in the first inning, that home run by Manny Margot, and I can't believe I've gone almost 6 minutes without saying anything about Manuel Margot's performance today. Hit a 3-run blast in the first inning, and the Rays had the lead the rest of the way. And then in the second inning, or did it come in the second? Yeah, it did. It was for a fly out on a ball hit by George Springer. My apologies. And he was running to his right. It seemed like he had a routine fly out. Again, this came in the top of the second, and Margot keeps drifting over to the right side, and he goes all the way kind of to the wall where I guess one of the kind of concourse things is. And mid-catch, he completely just flips over the wall, down the right field line and tumbles, and he was a bit shaken up, but did make the catch for the third and final out. They did strand two base runners there in that second inning, and that leads me to my next point. Houston, they pull the Ray today. They go 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position and leave a total of 11 men on base. We know in Game 1 they left a total of 10 base runners. So 2 games so far in the ALCS for the Astros. They've scored 3 runs, but have left a total of 21 runners on base. I mean, when I talk about the ball not bouncing your way, that's exactly what I mean. It's not that, this offense is necessarily underperforming, because they're getting on base like we knew that they would. We know that they weren't going to strike out. They end up doing that today to the tune of 8 strikeouts, which is a little, I think, that's not typically usual for them. But anyway, it's just, we knew they were going to put the ball in play. We knew they were going to get on base, and they did that. They got a total of 13 base runners today. And again, they strand 11 of them. They leave the bases loaded in the 9th inning. That's a whole different thing that we have to unpack. And they left 2 base runners in each of the first, second, and third innings. They both left 2. In each of those 3, they left 2 base runners. For the Rays, not as bad. They only strand 3. The most notable of which, they stranded 1 in the second and 2 in the third, and didn't really they got 1 base runner the rest of the way, which that's something to be concerned about. There was some weird stuff going on with the shadows at Petco Park, and because of the timing over there, it was weird having the game start at 4:07 Eastern, so that would have been 1 o'clock Pacific, and whether or not guys could or could not see the baseball, I can't speak to that. I know Dave Wills and Andy Freed on the radio call on WDAE were, I guess, contemplating about it, maybe that it had some sort of impact. So, I don't know, maybe you point to that, but it was a little bit disturbing how long they went with a hit, went without a hit. They got a single by Arozarena in the third inning, and they only got 1 hit the rest of the way. It was that solo shot from Mike Zunino, and boy, that loomed large, because without that, it would have been 3-2 final, and the tying run at that point would have been just 90 feet away. They had the bases loaded again with 2 outs, so a base hit basically there by Alex Bregman would have tied the game. So all we're going to do on today's show, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. We'll be taking calls all the way through. What we're going to do, just tell you everything about today's win, preview tomorrow's game. It looks to be right now, it's Jose Urquidy for the Houston Astros, undecided for the Rays. I would imagine probably Ryan Thompson or someone like that to open, and then we know that Ryan Yarbrough will follow, so we have that to discuss, how the bullpens look, all that stuff. Number to call, we have a line open if you want to call in and talk Rays. It is 877-566-1020. I'm going to take a short break and get all that stuff out there to the various social medias once again, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Hey sports fans, William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBCStream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCStream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 636. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 7:28, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Number to call, we do still have a line open. It is 877-566-1020 if you want to call in and talk Rays. If not, we have a Game 2 win to discuss. Again, 4-2 over the Houston Astros. For the Rays, it was 4 runs on just 4 hits. They got out hit. For the Astros, their line was 2 runs on 10 hits. They also had 2 fielding errors by Jose Altuve, both throws to first that he just botched. I mean, easy throws. I think most of the action that there is to discuss is on the back end, but we'll kind of work. We'll work forwards. We'll work our way to that finish. We'll start with the lineup for the Rays. The defensive alignment in the outfield from left to right. It was Arozarena in left, Kiermaier in center, and Manny Margot in right. The infield from third to first. It was Joey Wendell at third base, Willie Adames at shortstop. Brandon Lau played second. G-Man Choi, the first baseman. Mike Zunino did the catching for the starting pitcher, Charlie Morton, and the DH and leading off actually was Austin Meadows. Now the way the lineup was ordered, Austin Meadows led off, followed by Brandon Lau, Arozarena, G-Man Choi cleaned up, followed by Margot and Wendell, and a bottom 3 of Adames, Kiermaier, and Zunino. Against the right-handed starter, Lance McCullers Jr., they did not go as heavy lefties as they thought. I thought they really could have, if they were aggressive, kind of put this game out of reach in the first 4 innings or so, and I guess they ultimately ended up doing just that, but to my counting, they only go with 5 lefties and 4 righties. I thought maybe they could have gone 6 or 7 lefties. So they call it a little more even. I don't think Cash was expecting them to make an early move to the bullpen. I mean, McCullers Jr. did go 7 innings, strung of just 1 earned run, like he has proved that he can do over the course of the regular season. He got roughed up a little bit in his only other postseason start, but looked relatively good. Gave up 4 runs, but again, only 1 of them earned. So Altuve is pretty much going to catch the brunt of this loss, I would say. But staying with the hitting for the Rays, leading off, Austin Meadows, he goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. A bit of a disappointing performance, I would say. Of course, anytime you go 0 for 4, it's not necessarily going to be anything great. I thought he led off the game well, worked, I think it was I know it was a 2-2 count. Let me just make sure I know how many pitches he saw, because I think he fouled off quite a few as well. So to open the game, it was a 6-pitch at bat. Or no, that's not right. It was, let's see. I don't know, ESPN is playing with me. They're hanging me out to dry here. So I think, Meadows, he sees some pitches. I think really the thing for him is that he takes pitches whether they're called strikes or not. I just, at this point, he doesn't even care. He knows he can't make contact really with the baseball consistently either way. So he's just going to take a lot of pitches and work deep into a count that way. So that's fine, I guess. I don't want that necessarily as my leadoff guy, but we talk all the time. It's not necessarily about getting on base for a leadoff hitter. I mean, that is an extremely valuable part, and that can kind of tilt the game in your favor in the first inning. But I would say really the most important thing to me is I just want to see a guy take pitches, and the reason for that is, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why. Number one, it takes the starting pitcher, I guess, kind of out of his element. He can't get worked into a nice little groove, so you keep making him work, he can't get settled in, maybe some borderline calls, whatever the case is. And even if you don't get on base, again, that starting pitcher still has to face, your two other probably best hitters, the second and third hitters in the lineup. And then the other thing is it lets those two hitters that come up behind you get to see the starting pitcher, get to see all of his pitches, get to see how he's going to work them and all that stuff. I finally did pull it up. Meadows' opening at bat was 7 pitches. It was a knuckle curve, kind of down and away, and especially against, I guess that would be more so a left-handed starter, but I guess the righty McCullers Jr. was working it as well. Meadows down and away, I mean, for whatever reason, he's just completely flummoxed by it. He swings and misses a lot at pitches that kind of go into the dirt. Can't make contact with any pitches kind of in the middle of the zone, so I don't necessarily know. He saved our bacon in Game 5. Everyone wants to talk about the Brasso home run, and that's fair. But that solo shot earlier in the game by Austin Meadows, that Brasso homer just would have tied the game at 1, and who knows how it goes from there. So he's been, I guess, valuable to an extent throughout the postseason. I would kind of like to see that mix up I would just like to see them mix up the leadoff hitter role. I like what Brasso can do. I understand that's just going to be against lefties, though. I understand with Meadows being the lefty, you have him lead off against righties, and that's fine. I'd prefer to see Meadows bat like 5th or 6th, to be honest with you. I don't know. Yandy Diaz, a guy that sees a lot of pitches as well. I've dubbed him the Cuban god of walks in reference to Kevin Youkilis. Yandy Diaz right now, and I'm not going to talk about him a whole lot here because he didn't play today. But yeah, just a guy himself that I don't understand why the Rays are going to play him at cleanup if all he does is walk or strike out or pull the ball ground out to the shortstop. I don't know. But either way, Meadows, he goes 0 for 4 there, and basically that was just to make a long story even longer. Brandon Lau batted second. Goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, so an identical line to Meadows. And this is another point that I've been reiterating over the course of more so the postseason, but I think over stretches in the regular season as well. Your top 2 hitters combined to go 0 for 8 with 4 strikeouts. How do you expect to score runs? I mean, it's just that's supposed to be where the juicier lineup is. They're the ones supposed to be doing the damage. Instead, they give you absolutely nothing, and half the time they're not even putting the ball in play. So I don't love that. Lau did not work some great at-bats. He did reach base via an error and moved over to second base, and they weren't able to drive him in. And then, so the first 2 at-bats, he saw, I think, a combined, 3 pitches. Struck out in a full count, struck out looking, though, and I remember Dave Will said that was the most hittable pitch of the at-bat. It was just a weak kind of curveball. I understand curveballs of all sorts are tough to hit, and that's the scouting report on Brandon Lau is, when he was so good in 2019, he was crushing the fastball, and we're seeing the same story again in the case of Randy Arozarena, where he's just obliterating fastballs, struggling with off speed, but it was a curveball. It didn't have drastic movement like a Glasnow or a Morton or a Snell curve. It wasn't necessarily a bad pitch, but it was middle when it ended up. And Lau didn't even give it a shot. It started off kind of high, and Lau he committed to taking it on a full count, no less. I mean, at least spoil it back or do something and let him give you a fastball per se when a 3-ball count. But takes it right down the heart, strikes out, and then in the 8th inning, against the reliever Scrub, and yes, I'm not joking. His name is Scrub. So I wanted to make a joke about it, but he actually did end up pitching pretty well. Gave him a 1-2-3 inning, so I guess I'll have to hold that back. Either way, strikes out on a 2-2 count against Scrub. You look at Randy Arozarena in the 3rd hole, and boy, oh boy, has he been giving you a ton of production. Goes 2 for 4, scores a run, also strikes out once. We know he had the home run yesterday, so he's definitely not going cold anytime soon. Starts off the game with a couple of singles on the first pitch that he sees. It seemed like McCullers Jr. would give you a sinker on the first pitch, and that's definitely Arozarena's pitch to hit, and he swung on it, a single to left field, and then the second at-bat, a single up to center, so he got on, struck out the third time against McCullers Jr., and then grounded out to third base in his final time against the reliever Scrub. So it was only Lau, Arozarena, and Choi, by the way, that saw Scrub. Everyone else only faced McCullers Jr. And we'll go to G-Man Choi next, who batted cleanup. He goes 0 for 4, strikes out 3 times, does score the run on the error, and that's really where the game lies. It was with 2 outs in the first inning. It was after Arozarena got on first base via the single, and G-Man Choi on a 2-1 count just kind of hits a weak grounder right into the shift to Jose Altuve, and he just messes up the throw. Yuli Gurriel can't pick it out of the dirt, and it was ruled an error on Jose Altuve, and then the next man that comes up, Manny Margot, on an 0-1 pitch, hits a 3-run homer to deep, I guess, right center, and that gave the Rays a 3-0 lead, and thankfully they were able to hold on to that for dear life the rest of the way. But getting back to Choi, that was the only time he got on base, struck out the other 3 times he was up, saw a decent amount of pitches. All 3 of those strikeouts, by the way, came on 2-2 counts, so he's definitely a guy that sees a lot of pitches. I understand Cash is going to play him at cleanup more times than not, but I also like what he can do as a leadoff guy. I know he has led off for the Rays. In fact, I know it's not your traditional kind of speed type guy, but back to the effect of Meadows, he sees pitches, and unlike Meadows, he can actually put them in play, although I know with the 3 strikeouts and 4 at-bats today, not necessarily helping to prove my point, but you get the idea. So, in the cleanup spot, gave you nothing as well. So that's to my point. I guess I'll put it this way. Your number 1, number 2, and number 4 hitters at this point combine 0 for 12 with 7 strikeouts. And you still win the game. I mean, what is happening? That's Rays baseball for you. And that's what I mean, that I think the ball, it just bounces the Rays' way. I think that error certainly helped, basically won us the game. And the ball not bouncing in the direction of the Astros, how many times they grounded straight into the shift. I could spend really the rest of the show just talking about that. But going back to the lineup, Manny Margot batted 5th. He goes 1 for 3. Again, that 3-run homer was huge. Again, that was the game. Came on an 0-1 count. Let's see what pitch that he saw there. It fouled off a sinker at 96 that was up and in, and then it was a knuckle curve down and away, and just absolutely blasted it again to right center to make it a 3-0 game. Flew out to left, and then on a full count, grounded out to the third baseman. So I don't know. Again, Margot was one of the MVPs of the game, made that incredible catch in right. I made a couple comments during the ALDS that Margot was kind of looking lost out there in right field, and I had mentioned he has played in Petco Park for quite a while because of his time with the San Diego Padres, but he played exclusively in center field with the Padres, may have never even spent any time out there in right. So I think Hunter Renfroe was the guy that played right field out there in San Diego, and he had a good game defensively in game 1 for sure. So, but Margot finally, it makes that running catch. The wind just kind of kept blowing it out into foul territory and kind of flips over. It's hard to really explain it to you. Obviously, you probably watched the game, and it's going to be on all the highlight tapes. MLB dubbed it the catch of the year. I don't know about that, but definitely take some positive publicity and attention from MLB. Get that exposure. That's all good. So, Margot, 1 for 3. Really was the game right there. Joey Wendell, and the rest of the guys in that order really struggled, and I'll kind of speed it up. It was Joey Wendell batting 6th, goes 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Worked a decent first at bat. It was the final out after the Margot homer on a 3-1 count, grounds out to third base, so it's kind of the opposite way there. Then grounds out to second on a 1-0 pitch, and then struck out on a 1-2 pitch. He was the third and final out in each of his 3 at-bats, so there you go with that. I know he's been struggling a little bit lately. Had a couple of multi-hit games, I think, early in the ALDS, and then really cooled off. But, man, he was making all sorts of plays over at third base. I think maybe one that should have been ruled an error to him, but it was just, they called it an infield single. I think it was to Yuli Gurriel, I believe. Willie Adames batted 7th. He goes 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. Again, plays a stellar shortstop, doesn't matter. Does strike out twice, including once looking. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You have him bat 7th. You live with it. He plays good shortstop. Batting 8th, Kevin Kiermaier. He goes 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. So one was on a full count, one was on an 0-2 count, and then lined out to the third baseman. It was a leaping catch by Yuli Gurriel, and if it hadn't been caught, it could have potentially been a double, I think. So did hit the ball relatively hard there on that final or in the second at bat rather. Made a couple of nice running catches in center field. So again, in a 4-2 game, you value defense a little more, and I think that's the right call. Mike Zunino batted 9th, 1 for 2, a solo home run in the 7th inning on a 1-1 count against Lance McCullers Jr. rather, and he just took it out. Let's see, I'll how far it went out. I know it was, I think, like 454 feet to center. It was a 96 mile an hour sinker that was just kind of lazy up and away. That's perfect tee-off zone for a guy like Zunino that I say all the time will probably never see hit a single in a big spot, and then he did have the RBI single last night that basically won the game. But basically he's a guy that's going to strike out or hit a home run because he's kind of like a Hunter Renfroe but at a more extreme rate. He's just a big guy that has a powerful swing, and if you give him a fastball up and away, he's just going to crush it. That's just, when he makes contact, he swings through a lot of them as well. So Zunino has been incredibly clutch in this postseason, and let me say as well about Margot. Hit 1 home run in the regular season. I think he's got 3 or 4 right now in the postseason, and he's definitely been on a tear, and that's what the Rays are. You just kind of ride those guys while they're hot, and that's all fine and good. They go 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. Choi goes 0 for 1, Wendell 0 for 1, Margot 1 for 2, and again, that one hit was the 3-run homer after the error that allowed Ji-Man Choi to reach base. They only leave a total of 3 men on throughout the game, but that was really just because of a lack of base runners. After the 3rd inning, they only got 1 base runner, and that was the home run by Mike Zunino in the 7th inning to pad on to that lead. For the hitters, the first time through the lineup against Lance McCullers Jr., they had 2 hits, no walks, 1 strikeout, and the 3 runs, again, by Margot. The second time through, they did worse, which is not necessarily what you'd expect. 1 hit, no walks, 3 strikeouts, no runs. And then the third time through the lineup against McCullers Jr. was really the most disappointing. 1 hit, no walks, 7 strikeouts, and 1 run. I think that was the stretch where McCullers Jr. retired, 13 or 14 consecutive. And again, I think some of that potentially you would point on just the sun. It was hard to kind of explain. So the pitcher's mound was basically in the sunshine, and then the batter's circle was in the shade. So trying to read the spin rate of the baseball, I mean, you have like half a second, or I think literally less than half a second to decide if you're going to swing at the pitch or not. So I don't know. Anything that makes it more difficult obviously is not easy, and it did work in the Rays' favor as well, as Fairbanks cruised through a couple of easy innings, I guess we can say. I have it here from Mark Tumpkin on Twitter 11 minutes ago. Ryan Yarbrough will start Game 3. I think part of that was the fact that Ryan Thompson came into the game. He only threw, I think, 1 pitch, but they're going to have Yarbrough start outright. He can definitely do it. There's no doubt about that. It's just, I think they like to kind of protect him. You might as well just have an opener face Springer, Altuve, Brantley, Bregman. They're not going to do that. They're going to let Yarbrough just start it outright. He threw 5 innings and 65 pitches in relief. His first is in the series against the Yankees. So now, officially, it will be Ryan Yarbrough, the lefty, against the righty Jose Urquidy, and we'll preview that at the end of today's show. Going back to the pitching for today, Charlie Morton got the win. 5 innings, no runs on 5 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 96 pitches, 59 were for strikes. Faced 22 men, threw a first pitch strike to 14 of them. This is what Charlie Morton is. I said it before the show. I've been saying it kind of all season, going into the playoffs, all that stuff. Charlie Morton is 5 innings of 1 or no run ball. No more than that, no less. You know what you're going to get out from him. I think really the Rays catching some breaks because the first 2 starters in this series, Blake Snell and Charlie Morton, both run into their fair share of trouble and both get out of it with basically no damage done and get through 5 innings. I know that's not necessarily ideal for the bullpen, but it's a lot better than only getting, 3 or 4 innings like we thought Charlie Morton was going to be on pace for. So the fact that he gave him 5 scoreless, honestly, nothing short of a miracle. I mean, he was really doing, I was going to say doing his thing, but I mean, it was a lot of contact off of him. Just, I don't know, the fastballs, the Astros were just making a lot of contact and whatnot. So he does struggle a bit with base runners, does walk, and I think it was the 4th inning where things got a little bit out of control for him, and there was the Astros left 2 men on in that inning. So he gets through 5 scoreless, and one more point I'll make about him again, 22 batters faced, 14 first pitch strikes. So, I mean, basically starting ahead of, 2/3 of the batters, I think as Blake Snell did as well, I want to say. 0-1, and that goes a long way. And now at times it would let hitters work back into counts and all that stuff, but definitely that little bit of advantage went a long way. Peter Fairbanks came in behind him, got 2 innings pitched, an earned run on a hit, no walks, 3 strikeouts, 20 pitches, 16 strikes. For him, it was a very interesting 6th inning. On the first pitch to Kyle Tucker, almost took him out of the yard, caught by Kevin Kiermaier. Then on a 1-0 pitch to Carlos Correa, the very next batter takes him out of the yard to make it at that point 3-1. And then Yuli Gurriel almost takes one out to deep right. And then I think Josh Reddick flies out to center. So a lot of just loud contact. Could have been like 3 home runs in that inning. Fairbanks gets through it somehow. And then comes on in the 7th and strikes out the side against better hitters. I mean, he faced Martin Maldonado, strikes him out, but then got Springer and Altuve to strike out. So anytime you strike out the side, that's good. Fairbanks giving him 2 innings and 20 pitches is good. Potentially in play tomorrow. Nick Anderson, I'll just say, he probably won't be in play tomorrow. I think if they have the lead, they're going to want to be aggressive because once you have a 3-10 lead, again, I mean, how many times has a team come back from that in best of 7? I think maybe a handful of times. So, because you're not, I don't want to jinx anything, so I'll knock on the wood, but no way you lose 4 straight to this team. So if they can take Game 3 tomorrow, which isn't necessarily guaranteed, a lot of it is going to lie on how Ryan Yarbrough pitches. I know Jose Urquidy is not great. I think they faced him, I believe, to some extent in the postseason last year, I think in relief potentially. I know he pitched, I think, in the World Series as well for the Astros. But after Fairbanks got them through 7, Aaron Loop came on in the 8th, got into a little bit of trouble, got the first 2 outs easily, got Brantley and Bregman. The spot for him, it was Brantley, Bregman, and Tucker. So 2 of the 3 batters that he would have to face were lefties. So that's the spot for Loop. Fine. A part of it is Kevin Cash showing faith in his guy. I mean, he's 31 years old. He shouldn't really need that, I would say. But whatever. I don't know. I would like to see a couple other guys in that spot. They go with Loop, whatever. And then Kyle Tucker, the lefty, singles off of him. They take him out at that point. They put in Ryan Thompson and gets Correa to basically ground out. They got Kyle Tucker thrown out at second. So there you go, and that led it into Ryan Thompson threw only 2 pitches in an outing. So there you go. Loop threw 8 pitches in the outing. So they'll both be available in some extent tomorrow. I thought Thompson would open, but no, he'll be available probably in relief. And then in the 9th and final inning, Nick Anderson, 1 inning pitched, an earned run on 3 hits, 2 walks, 18 pitches, which is absurd. That's a 9th inning. Not as I don't know about for the ages, but that was pretty incredible. Just the events that transpired there. I think I saw something on Twitter that the Rays just something with stats, but they got extremely lucky. Where was it? It was the double play ball by George Springer. I mean, that should have, I think, scored 2 runs, I think, in that spot, and that would have tied the game. So, I don't know. Anderson gets totally lucky, gets bailed out. They were, Dave Wills, I think, and Andy Fried were pointing to maybe that it was him pitching 2 2/3 innings in Game 5, which was 2 days ago. I believe that was on Fridays. Yeah, so it's 2 days rest after pitching like I think 30 pitches, 2 2/3 innings, something he's not really done before. I don't know, he looked fine to me. Got the fastballs up, curveball down, 96 on the fastball, 84, 85 on the curve. That's what Nick Anderson was. It just looked like the Astros were ready for him. They didn't see him in game 1. But it looked like, they do such a good job of making contact that, they did the same thing with Morton. They hit the fastball well, and they took the curveballs, and that's what you're supposed to do against Anderson. And interesting note, he gave up 5 hits all regular season. Gave up 3 hits in this game. I mean, that is just absurd. Totally just off the wall. Had the bases loaded with 2 outs. Had back-to-back 4-pitch walks. So you're thinking, okay, how's he going to get out of this? First pitch to Bregman, I think it was a fastball, and Bregman almost takes him out of the yard, and that would have made it. What, a 6-4 game in favor of the Astros, and I doubt the Rays would have come back to win. It would have been probably Ryan Presley in the 9th. I don't know that those 2 things were the game. It was the error that brought up Margot, and he makes a good swing on it to make it 3-0. And then there was all kinds of plays for the Astros where they would get men on base or whatever the case was, and they would just ground right into the shift or line into the shift. I'll have to count them, but so many 5-3 double play balls. It's just right to Wendell. I don't know how many times a diving play by Wendell. Gets up quick, throws it over to first base, and it was Ji-Man Choi doing the yoga split there to make a nice grab to throw the runner out just in the nick of time. That's what the Rays are. Again, good pitching, defense, timely hitting-ish. I say that kind of, I don't know. They're terrible with runners in scoring position, so are they really with the timely hit? But it seems like nowadays, more with a timely home run, so I'm hoping they can just continue to ride that wave, because when it's not there, you're in a lot of trouble. We know in the ALDS, it was, I think, games 1 and game 4, where they were just abysmal at the plate, and when you watch those games, you think there's no way the Rays can continue to win, but both of those instances, they bounce back very nicely the next day, and I guess score runs right when they need to, and that's kind of been their calling card, so that's good. They end up winning just get very lucky again. I'll reiterate it. The ball has been bouncing their way really all postseason, and for their opponents, the ball has been bouncing against them. Not as much for the Yankees as it has been for the Astros. The Astros have just got to be so frustrated with themselves. The top of the order, again, let's take a look. George Springer goes 1 for 5, Altuve 1 for 4, Brantley 1 for 4, and Bregman 0 for 5. So you're getting a lot. Basically no production right now from those guys, and those are the guys that carry their lineup. Gurriel had a couple of hits, Correa had 1, and then, Reddick and Maldonado, what have you. Also, Aldemus Diaz in a pinch hit appearance, but the big guys, they're not producing. The Rays have been able to hold them quiet. That's obviously the key to the series. They don't have the pitching depth. I think their bullpen, it helped to only, and I know Scrub is not one of their A guys. They used a couple of them in game 1, I think. It was hard to determine, but it looked like Taylor, Paradis, and I think even Rayleigh to an extent were kind of their A guys. And I know Ryan Presley right now is their closer with Roberto Osuna out with injury. So the bullpen will be ready tomorrow for the Stros behind Jose Urquidy, and I don't know how much or how deep Jose will be able to go. And for the Rays, I think the bullpen is in a lot different shape. I think if they can, if let's say they're up 3-0 and you give the ball to Glasnow in game 4, Glasnow is going to close it out for you. He'll probably pitch 7 shutout innings or something crazy like that. Probably not, but he can definitely give you more length than, say, Snell and Morton did. But I don't know. I didn't like using Anderson in that spot even before they brought him in. I honestly thought it was too cute. They were up to at that point 4-1, and the men that Anderson faced, it was Gurriel, Reddick, and Maldonado. So in the 9th inning, you had the 7, 8, 9 hitters. I'm thinking, why are you bringing out Anderson in this spot? Put in someone else, and if they put runners on base, you bring in Anderson to face the big boys, Springer, Altuve, Brantley, whatever. I'm thinking that he was going to be those automatic outs, because they only used Nick Anderson twice in the ALDS. They 2 innings, I believe, in game 2, and then the 2 2/3 in game 5. So, and by the way, that's not something he's used to. He's usually a 1-inning guy rarely pitches on back-to-backs, never does 3 days in a row, that kind of stuff. They're extremely careful with him because they know how valuable he is to the organization. So, I don't know. Again, pitching the 2 2/3, give him the full 3 days rest and have him pitch in game 3, and that way, if you can potentially make it 3 games to none in your favor, then you're in a really good spot. But no, they burn up Anderson today, and now I would say he's not going to be available in game 3. I think that's pretty clear, and potentially in game 4. I don't know about that. It depends on the spot and the situation. But looking at the relievers, and they don't have as many as I thought they did. I would have liked to see maybe Jose Alvarado in that spot. I know people are probably screaming at their phones right now listening to this. Why would you put Jose Alvarado in that spot? Hasn't pitched since August 14th. That's a good point, but if that's your argument, he should have come in for Aaron Loup because that was the spot where he wanted a lefty. I don't know why he's continuing to use Loup, although Loup did pitch well, got the 2 outs and had put the base runner at first, and Thompson was able to clean it up. But would have liked to see Alvarado in this game. We'll probably be seeing him in the next couple days in that spot. Shane McClanahan was another guy, lefties, that could have come in for Loup or come in the 9th. Sluggers you wouldn't use there. And then even potentially you had the option of bringing out Ryan Thompson for the 9th. I didn't see the need to pitch Nick Anderson in the 9th, and I was a little bit worried. I mean, I'm not going to say I called it because obviously he gives up 5 runs, 5 hits. 5 hits he gives up in the regular season. And then gives up 3 in 1 appearance. That's just obviously no one is going to expect anything like that. Again, I didn't necessarily call that, but the 7, 8, 9 hitters, you don't need Nick Anderson for that spot. Let one of the other guys take it, and if they get into any trouble, then you bring on Anderson. I know Anderson warmed up, I think, in the 3rd inning to maybe clean up a Morton mess, which obviously you hate to see that. But thankfully he didn't have to come in, but whatever. So tomorrow, the bullpen's looking a bit bleak. Castillo would probably be available. Alvarado, I think we're going to see pitch at least once in the next couple of days. Curtis, maybe. Fairbanks, maybe. Loup, potentially. McClanahan, Sluggers. And I don't know about probably Ryan Thompson as well. So, I don't know. They have options. It depends on how much length Yarbrough can give them. That's going to be kind of one of the keys to the game. So, again, that's pretty much my Game 3 thoughts. When we come back, we're going to take another short break. I'll go inning by inning, so that way, kind of get breakdowns where the hits came and on the kind of pitch types and things if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Also, we'll be taking your phone calls the rest of the way at 877-566-1020. I got to take a break and reload all the stuff on the socials, so all that. So, no, during the break, number to call, line open. Love to hear from each and every one of you tuning into the show. It is 877-566-1020. Again, we'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 66. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 8 o'clock sharp, we're back on the William Haynes Show. Wow, we'll actually be able to get out of here in decent time. Sorry during the break, I didn't have time to read into it, but former Ray Tommy Pham is now with the San Diego Padres. He got stabbed during an altercation on Sunday night. He's in good condition. I guess the stitches and whatever for that. So that's a bit strange. The Padres were recently eliminated by the Dodgers in the NLDS after kind of, I think, a disappointing end to their season. But I don't know. That's weird. Obviously, you hate to see anything like that. So, again, former Ray Tommy Pham. Hopefully, it looks like he'll be fine after getting stabbed on Sunday night. That's always a very kind of weird story. But anyways, we're back talking Rays. We'll wrap up Game 2 thoughts. We have a call here. We're going to go ahead and take that. And we have Seth on the line from Los Angeles. Seth, you're on the William Haynes Show. How are you doing, man?
I am doing pretty well, although I have to say both the ending of that game and my biostatistics test that I was taking gave me heart palpitations.
Oh, man, I bet.
That was just, I was so scared. Like, I saw the writing on that wall, and I was like, oh, God, like, Nick's losing it. Like, what's going on? Oh, man, that freaked me out.
It really just so bizarre, and I said it a couple times in the show if anyone didn't hear. He gave up 5 hits in the regular season and all his appearances combined. In this appearance, he gave up 3 hits, and watching it, it didn't seem like anything was off. I know Dave and Andy were maybe suggesting that it was kind of the hangover from going 2 2/3 in Game 5 a couple of days ago, but, I mean, he was getting the 96-mile-an-hour fastball up and the curveball down, and the Astros were just taking the curveball, and they were basically just hitting the fastball like basically no one is ever able to do against him. So we knew that about the Astros coming into the series, that they don't strike out, and they're really good at making contact. And I think that is potentially maybe Nick Anderson's weakness that we just haven't seen yet. But yeah, again, very, very scared. We were all, I think, on the edge of our seats, and when Kevin Kiermaier made that running catch in deep, deep center, man, a big sigh of relief.
Well, see, I wasn't watching the game because I was taking my test and the game was on my phone on the MLB app, and I was like, I saw everything was like when Nick came in, I was like, okay, game's over. Then I saw the first hit, then I saw the second hit, then I saw the third hit, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Did they check the freaking Astros dugout for trash cans? Did they check it? Like, are we sure that they weren't cheating? like we got to be careful with this. Like, I think MLB's got to give them a once-over over at Petco Park. Got to send somebody out there and check that because that was just crazy.
I saw someone making a joke, and I think they were just saying, imagine if the Astros hadn't been caught last year, how obvious it would have been this year without any fans. It would have just been some random guy in the stands dressed as an usher, like banging on something. So I don't know. There could potentially still be something up their sleeve, but yeah, it was just that was very bizarre. We've never seen that with Anderson. That must have been crazy for you, not watching the game, and all of a sudden you just see the game falling apart there in the ninth. I didn't like that spot to use Anderson because it was the 7, 8, 9 hitters. It was Yuli Gurriel, Josh Reddick, and Martin Maldonado. I know we're both kind of iffy on Alvarado, but there's, I don't know, a couple other guys that could have come on in that spot. I didn't see the need to use Anderson. I guess Cash was just trying to play it aggressive, just trying to secure that 2-0 lead. But I don't know. I think and Anderson showed why. Maybe he should have had 3 days rest instead of 2.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't think it was necessarily a weird move. I think it was just like trying to lock it down, and I don't think he trusted the lefties to like because he used the one lefty that he really trusts in Loop to get the job done. Which honestly, I'm not sure I trust Loop after yesterday's heart palpitation. But I mean, he did a great job today, so I can't really fault him. But yeah, I don't know what happened, man. I really can't say like that. Like I said, watching it on my phone, it was like I was seeing flashbacks of Kershaw in 2017. It was I saw all those hits and I was like, oh my God, are they banging on the cans again? Like it literally looked just like that. I was like all these hits in a string. I was like, this is so weird. This doesn't happen. Like, so I mean, I was having like 2017 World Series PTSD flashbacks watching that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're cheating this time because I think it would be way too obvious. But with this team now, you literally cannot assume anything with the Astros now. I mean, and it's always going to be that way. Their reputation is now tainted. You now have to assume that any success they're getting might not be legit because they are not a legit team. And I mean, they're supposedly proving now with this playoff run they're on. They're supposedly proving that they're better than the cheating, and all the cheating didn't really affect them. It just helped an already good team be better. But honestly, I don't really think that's true. If you really look at the numbers against our team, against a really good playoff team, against the 1 seed in the AL, they're not performing well. They're getting hits, but they're not getting clutch hits. They're not doing things with the runners. The 2 runs they got today were off of a double play ball and a homer. And the 1 run they got yesterday was off a homer. So they can still hit homers, but I don't really think that as clutch as they were in the years that they were cheating, I don't really think that that's still going on now. And I think that a lot of their playoff success this year can be attributed to playing against really, really bad playoff teams that just choke continually and do not get good results in the playoffs.
I think that's a perfect point, and I agree with you all the way. Yeah, the Twins and the Astros, or the Athletics rather, I think you kind of throw those out. You're right. The Rays are a legitimate playoff team, and they've gone quiet. I mean, Springer, Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, they're getting about a hit a game. Altuve had 2 hits, and Bregman did in game 1, but they each had 1 hit each tonight. Bregman actually goes 0 for 5. And you're right, yeah, the timely hitting really hasn't been there, including for Bregman, who almost took it out of the park. But yeah, it is weird, and I think the most glaring of which, when you look at, I guess, pre-cheating Astros to hopefully post-cheating Astros, is Altuve, who batted, well over 317 when he got the MVP. This year, albeit in a shortened season, he batted 213, and he's not that same player. Just they're obviously not seeing the baseball as well, and you're right. I think perfect matchup for the Rays. I'm hoping they'll be able to cruise the rest of the way, and boy, I am very scared about your Dodgers. We'll get to see him here in a couple minutes. I don't know about that matchup.
Really, against Fried?
Oh, no, I don't mean tonight. I'm talking about the Rays versus the Dodgers in a World Series.
Oh, gotcha.
I know Braves and Rays are too close together.
I was confused there. Yeah, I was a little confused there. Yeah. No, I don't know. I maybe I'm playing devil's advocate here because I'm a fan of both teams, but if you really look at the matchup with the Rays and the Dodgers, I mean, I know the Rays offense is nowhere near as explosive as the Dodgers offense is. And when the Dodgers offense goes off, they score 5 or 6 runs in an inning. When the Rays offense goes off, maybe 2 or 3, that's when they're really going crazy. And they've had a few really big innings where they've gotten a whole bunch, 6 or 7 runs, but those are in blowout games where a pitcher just completely loses it on the mound and is not throwing strikes and is just doing poorly. I don't know. I think it might be a better matchup than people might think because I think the Dodgers really haven't faced the caliber of pitching that the Rays have on their staff. And I don't even know if the Braves are necessarily a good comparison for that because, yeah, the Braves have these 3 guys that are really solid. They've got Fried, Anderson, and Wright. But Anderson and Wright are both rookies, and Fried is good but known to be kind of a choker in the playoffs. I mean, he was part of the whole Game 5 fiasco in last year's NLDS. He gave up plenty of runs in that ridiculous first inning. It was Fulte that gave up the majority, but Fried came on and only made the situation worse. So, I don't know. Maybe that's a different player. Maybe he's a better pitcher now. Maybe he's learned from his mistakes. We'll have to see, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good comparison to what the Rays have, which is 3 incredible pitchers in Snell, Glasnow, and Morton, and plenty of excellent other pitchers waiting in the wings, like Yarbrough, who's getting the start tomorrow, and we're going to see what Yarbrough can do on a start against an offense like this. So, I don't know. I might be playing devil's advocate, but I think it's possible that the Dodgers could be given a good bit of trouble by the Rays in the World Series if they get there.
Yeah, and I think with there will be off days in the World Series where the traditional travel days would be, so maybe a little bit different. I'm very excited to see it. Obviously, the Rays have to take care of business here. I think if they get the win tomorrow, Yarbrough versus Urquidy, I think is a decent favorable matchup in favor of the Rays, and then hopefully we'll have Glasnow maybe to close it out in Game 4. yeah, very excited to see maybe the Dodgers. I know they're on right now. I'll let you go so you can enjoy that game. I don't know, man. It looks cool with fans in the stands. They got Joe Buck on the call. Finally looks like we're back to some real October baseball. So I'll let you go. Hopefully they take care of business against the Braves, and they'll be facing the Rays in the World Series.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
All right, have a good one, my man. Thanks as always for the call.
You too, of course.
All right, and that was Seth from Los Angeles. Another great call from him. Made a lot of good points. I just think, yeah, the Astros, they really aren't the same team this year, and I think we anticipated that going into the series, and the Rays have taken care of business. I'm getting all mixed up with the names now. We've got the Rays, the Braves, Astros, Dodgers. It's all over the place, but I don't know. The Rays are up 2-0. They got to take care of business the next couple of games, and it looks like, just to interrupt myself here, it is Freddie Freeman going deep off of Walker Buehler in the first inning to make it 1-0 Braves. To extend that again, I'm watching the game. It's on Fox Sports. I didn't anticipate them having Joe Buck there, so it's the real full experience. They've got about third capacity there in Arlington. And I gotta say, man, like I said, it feels like some real playoff baseball. I think part of it too, just whatever TBS has done, and without the fans, the cardboard cutouts just looks more kind of synthetic. This, I'm telling you right now, and I'll be off the air soon. If you're a baseball fan overall, definitely pop on Fox Sports. I think it's FS1 right now. It's Walker Buehler versus Max Fried as well. So potential little pitchers duel. Again, the Braves are up 1-0. So yeah, I'll definitely be enjoying that game when I'm off the air here shortly. We'll go inning by inning, preview tomorrow's game, and then we'll hop off the air because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Top of the first against Charlie Morton, George Springer starts him off 0-2, then works the count full and singles. It was a sinker, kind of down and away, so not a bad pitch. Morton came out throwing 96 consistently, so you like to see that. Looks like he's kind of emptying the tank here in the postseason, although I know there was that story in the Times that he said he would like to have that option picked up, which at $15 million, I can't blame him for saying that after the season that he had this year. So he gets on, Springer does, with nobody out in the first. Altuve strikes out, but then Brantley singles to put runners at the corners. So you're thinking, okay, they're probably going to come away with one run. They've got a runner 90 feet away with one out, and Bregman coming up. And he, on the first pitch that he sees, a sinker, a 96, kind of middle away from Bregman, and he absolutely puts a screecher on the baseball, but right into the glove of Willie Adames, right into the shift. So they catch a break there, 2 away. Runners remain at the corners, and then up comes Kyle Tucker and strikes out. So you get out of that inning, no runs allowed, 18 pitches, 14 for strikes from him there. And the bottom of the first with Lance McCullers Jr. on, we expected maybe 4 or 5 innings from him, ended up giving him a full 7. It was Meadows to lead off again, grounded out, but it was in that 7-pitch at bat, set the tone, I think, kind of. Then Lau grounds out on the first pitch, got a kind of basically a fastball. He's a sinker baller instead of a four-seam fastball, but that's his speed pitch. It was down and away from Lau, and he chases those just as Meadows does. Grounds right into the pitcher for 2 gone, bases empty. Arozarena singles on the first pitch, a sinker again, middle. McCullers pretty much starts everyone off with that speed pitch, so Arozarena gets on. Then Choi on a 2-1 count kind of hits a weak grounder to the second baseman Altuve, and you think routine out. No, it was actually a throwing error by Jose Altuve, thrown over to Gurriel at first base. So Choi gets on. You don't think much of it. Okay, it's first and second with 2 outs. Manny Margot comes up. Let's see what happens. Fouls off the first pitch, then gets an 85-mile-an-hour curveball kind of down and away, and he crushes it. 406 feet to center, makes it 3-0 Rays. You give a team extra outs, you make them pay, and then Wendell grounds out to end the inning. Top of the second, Morton still on. Correa lines out. Gurriel hits a single. Then Reddick pops out on an 8-pitch at bat, and then Maldonado hits a ground rule double to put runners at second and third with only 1 out. And you got the leadoff hitter George Springer coming up. So again, another potential scoring opportunity for Houston. And Springer on a 1-1 count. It was a sinker, middle away from him. It just flies out to right field, and that was actually the running catch where Margot tumbles over kind of the wall there in right field, and secures that 3-0 lead. So that's good. I think Margot probably gets player of the game, to be honest with you. Bottom of the second, McCullers still on. Adames pops out in the first pitch. Kevin Kiermaier strikes out in 3 pitches. Zunino gets hit by 1. And then Meadows strikes out, so really had nothing going there. It was just 1 pitch that got away from him and hit Zunino, so nothing going for them in the second inning. Top of the third, I just want to say for Morton, that 20-pitch inning, 16 for strikes in the second. In the third, Altuve leadoff single on a 6-pitch at-bat. Got hit with a lot of those lengthy at-bats that ended up being singles. Then he strikes out Brantley in 5 pitches. Bregman grounds out. It was a nice play, I think, for Willie Adames, and then Tucker flies out in a 7-pitch at-bat. So in the third inning, 20 pitches, 11 for strikes. Bottom of the third against Lance McCullers Jr., Brandon Lau is safe, again, via another error by Jose Altuve. Boy, give him the tonight's big loser for playing a practical joker. So that puts a man on with nobody out, with Randy Arozarena up, and of course he singles. So bottom of the third, 3-0 game. First and second, no outs, with Choi coming up. Choi strikes out. 7th pitch of that at-bat. It was a knuckle curve, kind of probably below the zone, but if he took it, it probably would have been called a strike. So that's out number 1. Then Margot lines out to left field, and Wendell grounds out. So they get nothing out of that. Again, first and second, no outs. More times than not, you'd like to come away with runs. You can't. So be it. Top of the fourth, Morton runs into a little bit of trouble. Strikes out Carlos Correa. That's a good start in a 7-pitch at-bat against so many of those. Then on a 3-0 count, hits Yuli Gurriel with a pitch to put a runner on, and he had lost control, certainly at that point. Then Reddick lines out to left, so that's not bad. 1 on with 2 out. But then on a pass ball, Gurriel gets to second base. Then he walks the 9-man, the catcher, Maldonado, in 4 pitches. You could have gotten him out and avoided facing the top, but you don't. So it's first and second with 2 outs. George Springer comes up, and in the 8th pitch of the at-bat, it was a sinker, kind of almost middle, and all he can do with it is ground out to second base. I think it was a nice play by Brandon Lau. Pretty much all the outs recorded were just, very seemingly lucky but good defensive plays to strand another 2 base runners, 1 of 11 left on the base path for Houston today. That inning, Morton threw 27 pitches, 12 for strikes. I mean, he's throwing basically 20 pitches an inning, and you're not going to get too much length from him if you do that. Bottom of the fourth, McCullers Jr. gets an easy 1-2-3, gets Adames, Kiermaier, and Zunino. Top of the fifth, Morton finishes strong, gets Altuve, Brantley, and Bregman 1-2-3. 11 pitches, 7 for strikes. His day was done. As such, 5 innings, no runs on 5 hits, just the 1 walk. Did hit a man as well, 5 strikeouts. So there you go for them. Bottom of the fifth for the Rays, another 1-2-3 inning. McCullers Jr. does strike out the side. Strikes out the side of the 1-2-3 hitters as well. Meadows, Brandon Lau, and Randy Arozarena. Top of the sixth, Peter Fairbanks comes on, one of his 2 innings. Tucker flies out to center on the first pitch, and he almost took him out. And then Correa did what Tucker couldn't do, goes 438 feet to center to make it 3-1. Then Gurriel lines out to right, and I think Josh Reddick flew out to center, and again in another pitch that almost went out. So Fairbanks catches a little bit of a break. I don't know what it was. The home run was a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, just not high enough, I think. To Tucker, it was a slider that was left up. And then for Reddick, it was a fastball kind of middle way. So I think Fairbanks just not getting the elevation that he wanted on the fastball in that 6th inning, but did pitch much better in the 7th. Bottom of the 6th for the Rays, they go down in order again. McCullers was on a hot streak. Got Choi, Margot, and Wendell there. Top of the 7th for Fairbanks, strikes out the side. The 9-1-2 hitters, Maldonado, Springer, and Altuve. Springer was in 3 pitches, Altuve in 4, so was really just toying with them. They couldn't catch up to the fastball. That was basically it. Well, gave Springer 3 sliders, and then Altuve gave him a lot of fastballs. So there you go. Fairbanks pitches 2 innings of 1-run ball, and in a game where you start up 3-0, that ended up being enough. So there you go. One of your A guys ends up getting the job done, and I think that's, you can't ask for much more than that. Bottom of the 7th, the Rays add on some insurance. Adames strikes out, Kiermaier strikes out, then Big Z comes up, Zunino, on a 1-1 count, a 96-mile-an-hour kind of sinker, if you will. It was kind of middle up and away, and as I said, that's Zunino's pitch. Crushes it, 454 feet to center, I think into one of the bullpens. Made it 4-1, and we did not know at that time how much that insurance would end up meaning for them. And then Meadows grounds out on the first pitch after that. It was just a changeup down and away, and just made weak contact with it. Top of the 8th, Aaron Loup comes on to face a couple of lefties, gets Brantley to ground out, Bregman, the righty, to ground out. So there you go. And then Tucker, the other lefty, he singles to left. So as Seth said, he did his job. I guess right now he is Cash's highest leverage reliever against left-handers. There's not going to be too many of those spots. I think actually Loup is better against right-handers than lefties. His split show, but righty-lefty is still a thing in baseball these days. So I guess does his job there. Ryan Thompson comes in needing to get an out with a runner at first and gets Correa basically to ground out. A 2-pitch appearance for Ryan Thompson, so there you go. You would think he'd be available tomorrow. He did pitch. Did he pitch in? Yeah, he did pitch in game 1, a 12-pitch inning. So I don't know, 3 straight days potentially. That's probably why he's not opening. So he might be a maybe out of the pen. I would say they didn't probably want to use him. They wanted Loup obviously to get that out. And then maybe Thompson comes in for the 9th. I don't exactly know. So that's how that ended out. Bottom of the 8th, Scrub comes on. Andre Scrub gets a 1-2-3 inning. Lau, Rosarena, and Choi retired. Lau and Choi also strike out as well. Top of the 9th. I could probably spend 10 minutes on this. Renfroe comes in to play right and moves Margot over to left. So they take out Rosarena out of left in the process of doing so. Nick Anderson comes on. Just to set the scene, Nick Anderson in Game 5 against the Yankees pitched 2 2/3 innings. Was a huge part of that win. He was only pitching on 2 days rest from that appearance. Again, he's never gone that deep in a ball game before, so we're kind of in uncharted waters here. He's been automatic all year. It was a safe situation against the 7, 8, 9 hitters, Yuli Gurriel, Josh Reddick, Martin Maldonado, who they ended up pinch hitting for. But I would have liked to see, and again, I think to Seth's point, you didn't want to bring one of the lefties in. Obviously, Jose Alvarado, I would have been fine with it, but I understand that's not the spot. You want to bring him in his first game since August 14th to close out an American League Championship Series game. Fine. Castillo was not available, which makes sense. Curtis, I think he pitched an 18-pitch inning in Game 1. You save him for Game 3, that's fine, but he would have been fine in that spot. Shane McClanahan, no. Aaron Slegers, no. They want like that of him. So I understand you didn't have too many options, so you just end up giving it to Nick Anderson. I would like to see him get that third full day of rest and then potentially close out a Game 3 win. Let's say, they don't win tomorrow, so there's no need to even use him anyway, so maybe that ends up working fine. But anyway, they go Nick Anderson in the 9th. Yuli Gurriel grounds out, reaches base via an infield single. It was, I think, it should have been called an error. It was Joey Wendell makes a diving stop, and that's why. It was a plus defensive play to just knock the ball down and keep it in the infield. But gets up, throws it to first, but the throw was just short. G-Man Choi did his best full split, but it couldn't get it. So an infield single there to put a man on, and this isn't a 4-1 game, by the way. Then, and by the way, that Gurriel pitch, it was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball up, and gets on an infield single. Then the first pitch to Josh Reddick, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, does get it pretty up in the zone, but singles to shallow left to make it first and second with nobody out. So the tying run comes to the plate in Maldonado. They pinch hit him for Aldemus Diaz. Aldemus Diaz on a 2-2 pitch. It was a curveball that just hung basically middle. Singles to center. It was shallow to load the bases with nobody out. How are you going to get out of this? Tying run is standing at first base. They pinch run Miles Straw for Aldemus Diaz to get some speed. They did that in Game 1 as well. And then, not to mention, you got the top of the order coming up. You got Springer coming up. George Springer, who at that point was 1 for 4. And on the first pitch that he sees, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball up. So I think he looked fine. It was just the Astros, they're contact-oriented. They don't strike out. So Nick Anderson, a guy that strikes out about half the batters he sees, you face a lineup that doesn't strike out, you're going to have a little bit of trouble, especially if they can make contact off of that fastball up. That's basically, just to explain it quickly, that's what makes Anderson good. Mixes up the eye level of the hitter. You get him to focus on the curveball down, and then that 96-mile-an-hour fastball that rides up is just too quick to catch up to with your eye level looking down. And Houston just wasn't fooled by it. But first pitch, fastball up, Springer makes solid contact, and it goes right to, I think, Brandon Lau at second base. Very lucky. He steps on second base to get the force of Miles Straw, and then he throws to first base to get George Springer. So 2 gone. The run comes across to score. Another runner moves over to third base. So it's 4-2. There's a run 90 feet away, so it's just a runner at third at that point. And then you walk Jose Altuve in 4 pitches, 3 curveballs taken, and then a 4-seam fastball that was just a bit too high. So Altuve walks easily, runners at the corners with 2 outs. Then you walk Michael Brantley in 4 pitches. So again, had no ability to find the zone. They were all fastballs, 1 too high, 1 too far away, 1 too far in, and then another one, I thought that was a strike, it looks like here, but 4-pitch walk. Bases reloaded, and at that point in a 4-2 game, a base hit ties it. A double probably gives you the lead, and a home run would give you a 2-run lead. Alex Bregman comes up. He was 0 for 4 at that point, but made loud contact each time that he was up, and got robbed. I don't know about. Well, I mean, he did kind of get robbed. Just unlucky with the shift. Lined out to Adames, then a couple of loud groundouts to Adames, and then a ground out to third. That was a nice play by Joey Wendell. And then in the 9th inning, bases loaded, 2 outs, 4-2 game. First pitch that he sees, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, middle. Oh, crap. Makes loud contact with it. I don't know the distance, but almost a home run. Petco Park thankfully held it in. Kevin Kiermaier runs it down. It looked like a home run off the bat, and Dave Wills I think he gave it the oh no right off the bat, and got really excited in a bad way that it was going to get out. It was held in. I saw Dave Wills on Twitter. He probably doesn't listen, but if he does, I don't know, just hats off to you. I thought it was a nice call, and then on Twitter said that he needed a double after the game, which he made a couple of comments about heart palpitations and that his Fitbit watch was going to explode, and Seth made a couple of comments like that. I was there too. We were all on the edge of our seat waiting to see if that Bregman hit would stay in the park, and thankfully it did for out number 3. Rays hold on in game 2 by a score of 4-2, and again, they're up 2-0. I think you feel good about them right now. Takeaways, you take advantage of an extra out in the first inning. I didn't like that they couldn't get base runners the rest of the way. That Zunino home run was huge. I think that's just kind of lucky. You get a bad pitch from McCullers Jr., who pitched a pretty good game. That was actually his only earned run of the game. The other 3, that 3-run homer is considered unearned because that should have been the 3rd out. So there you go. So 7 innings, a 1-run ball. You think that's good enough to get you the win, but it is not for Houston. For the Rays, Charlie Morton gutted through it. Got 2 from Fairbanks. Got basically the inning from Loop, the out from Thompson. That's fine. And Nick Anderson, and probably the most dangerous. I know he had one against the Marlins this year where he walked a couple guys in his first appearance back from injury. But I don't know. It should have been automatic 7, 8, 9. But instead he faced the top guys to make it interesting. Just a very interesting game. Offense didn't give you much. Again, the 1, 2, and 4 hitters combined to go 0 for 12 with 7 strikeouts, and you still win. There you go. 4 runs on 4 hits. You get out hit again. I mean, what's the odds of that? If I had told you previewing this series that the Astros would out hit the Rays in both of the games, what would the series be at? How many of you would have said that the Rays would be up 2-0? Well, they are, and it's thanks to good pitching, good defense. Kind of lucky, I guess, but the Rays with the shifts, I guess they make it look lucky, but there is a lot of statistical analysis and all those things that go into it. But it bore full, whatever the phrase is, tonight, so that's good. Previewing tomorrow's contest, the lefty Ryan Yarbrough starts outright against the righty Jose Urquidy. Looking at Ryan Yarbrough, he has appeared once in the playoffs so far. It was, I think, Game 4 of the ALDS, the game that they lost 5-1. 5 innings, 2 earned runs on 6 hits, a walk, a strikeout, 65 pitches, so was relatively efficient. Looking at that game against the Yankees, he followed the opener, Ryan Thompson, who went an inning and 2/3. I think did face 9 batters. And then Yarbrough, I think, faced, the lineup a time through or or a couple times, whatever the case was. He's going to start outright. He can do it. Again, if he can go 5 innings against the Yankees and give up just a couple of runs, he can do that against the Astros, who are struggling right now. My only concern is the soft tosser against the soft tosser lefty against a lot of righties. Although I know Yarbrough is good against both, I just a little bit cautious as we were against the Yanks. Again, a soft tossing lefty against a power hitting righty lineup. I don't know. That's typically not a great matchup, but Yarbrough usually is able to slug through it. Let's see. He faced Houston, I know, in the playoffs last year. Let me just pull that up there. Thankfully, ESPN is being super slow to kind of... Okay, so Game 4, pitches behind an opener against Houston, gives him 2 innings, had a couple of other appearances, and then let's see else how he did against Houston. 4 1/3 of 1 run, or no, that was against Baltimore, my apology. Okay, against Houston, I promise this one is against the Astros. 6 innings pitched, 3 runs, not bad, 85 pitches, and it doesn't look like he faced them at any other point in 2018. Let me just go back to let's see if he faced them at any point in 2018. Okay, so 6 1/3 in 2018 of 1 run. So did pitch pretty well, and then so that was it. So I guess decently good track record for Yarbrough, and then also of note for Yarbs. I don't know why I want to just see his record this year. So for Yarbrough, I guess they're not going to give it because he's a reliever, whatever. So there's Yarbrough. For Jose Urquidy, 1-1 with a 2.73 ERA. He's got a couple of postseason starts. It looks like 4 1/3 against the Twins of an earned run, and 4 1/3 of 4 runs against the Athletics. So he's a guy that the Rays should be able to tee off of. And then only pitched the month of September. I had a couple of 7-inning starts against Texas, 6-inning start against the Diamondbacks, 6-inning start against the A's. But again, hasn't looked great in the postseason, so hopefully a right-hander, they'll be stacking the lefties. So that makes sense. Looking at who the Rays would line up, so thinking that they're going to want to probably stack lefties. They didn't do that too much here in Game 2. They went 5-4 with the lefties and righties, so... Let's say maybe this time with Yarbrough, they do go Michael Perez at catcher. The infield, they'll go again. Joey Wendell at third base. Adames at shortstop. Lau at second. G-Man Choi at first once again. If he's okay. I know he had the hamstring injury and he's been doing the splits. And then in the outfield, I would like to get Meadows in the outfield. They DH'd him today, so I'll go with that again as I preview this game. I'll go Arozarena in left, Kiermaier in center, Austin Meadows in right. I'll have Yoshi DH, and that's just how I would do it. And then out of the bullpen guys that they have available, Alvarado, I assume, will pitch because they're running out of options. Castillo may be available. Curtis would be. Fairbanks potentially. Loops, I don't think he's going to pitch on a 3rd straight day. Shane McClanahan, Aaron Slegers could give probably a couple innings of work behind Yarbrough. So you think maybe Yarbrough and Slegers started off and combined for maybe 6 innings or so? I think that would be realistic. And then at that point, if you're leading, you have 9 more outs to get out of the bullpen. And we're going to see some guys that we haven't seen a whole lot of. Alvarado and McClanahan potentially. And then maybe Castillo in a safe situation, Curtis as well. So... only guy I wouldn't expect to pitch, probably Anderson, Loop as well. Looking back to yesterday, Fairbanks pitched 2 innings. He may be out as well, so maybe Ryan Thompson would be out as well. So a little bit limited options again. So we'll see how that goes. We'll be on the air. A programming update, I suppose. The games 3 and 4 will be on at 8:40. So I'm surprised they gave them. Well, I guess that not necessarily the primetime slot, I guess. So 8:40, we'll probably be on, if it's a 4-hour game, we'll be on at like 1 a.m., so that will be fun to do that. Taking your calls, doing all that stuff, and then on Wednesday as well, the case, Game 4 will be at 8:40. Glasnow going for the Rays. We don't know against Urquidy. So that's all fine and good. Tonight, definitely enjoy some sports, man. If you're a football guy, we got Monday Night Football. Look like we're gonna have 2 games now. We just have one because of it getting moved around. It's Saints and Chargers. Chargers up 6-0 the first quarter. Game 1 of the National League Championship Series. There's fans in the stands for a baseball game. Joe Buck on the call. It's got the big game feel. Max Fried versus Walker Buehler. I think the Dodgers, I want to say, are up. Let's just check that. The Braves are actually up 1-0 in the second. So, good sports. Enjoy it. Getting off the air at 8:30 feels weird. We'll be back tomorrow again at probably 1 a.m. to talk Game 3. Hopefully the Rays win. As always, we'll see you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.